Let's add some photos to our top 5 project. In the last step, we learned how to add motion graphics to our edit. So if you haven't done that yet, make sure you check out that assignment and that video. Let's go ahead and get started by minimizing out of our Chrome window here, going to our search at the bottom and opening up Adobe Premiere Pro just by searching for Premiere, clicking on Premiere Pro, and giving that a minute to load. And this time it went pretty fast. Love to see it. We're going to go up to File at the top, go to Open Recent, and select our top 5 project. And as always, I'm getting this file importer error at the bottom. I'm not too worried about it. It should go away on its own. First, let's make sure that your window looks like mine. We'll go to Window at the top, go to Workspaces, and select Editing. Then we'll go to Window at the top, go to Workspaces, and select Reset to Saved Layout. Last, we're going to go to Window at the top, go down to Projects, select Top 5 Project, and that will get you into a pretty normal state. Next, we're going to go ahead and open up our Pictures folder by double-clicking on this folder icon. And we should see all the pictures that we downloaded earlier in this process. I'm going to go ahead and find my first pick from the video right here. And let's remind myself what I picked. I'm going to go ahead and press play.
My number 5 pick is Super Mario World for the Super Nintendo. The reason I picked this...
All right, so it looks like my first pick here was Mario World. So I'm going to go ahead and grab one of my photos. And we should have 2 photos available for each of the items in our list. So we need to make a decision which one makes more sense to use. In this case, I think this one makes the most sense to use. So as always, I'm double clicking on this icon to open up my image in my source monitor right here. And then we're going to just drag from the film strip icon onto our timeline where we would like to add that photo. I'm going to have mine start right after the end of my graphic. So I'm going to zoom in using plus on my keyboard. And then I'm going to go ahead and press play so we can see what this is doing.
World for the Super Nintendo. The reason I picked this one is...
And we'll see that we move from that graphic onto our photo here. Right now, our photo is a little bit too small. So this is an easy fix. I'm going to go ahead and click on my photo on my timeline. That's this one right here. Then I'm going to double click on the photo. I'm going to click and drag from the corners to make my photo bigger until it fills up the screen. Then we can click and drag on the photo to get it positioned where we would like it. And I'm thinking that looks pretty, that one looks pretty good for me right now. So next we're going to just let this play out.
For all the different Yoshis that were in that game that all had different power-ups and different capabilities. My favorite was...
All right, so this is where I specifically start talking about my other photo. So this is where I want my other photo to start. I'm going to go ahead and double click on the icon next to the name of the photo I want. I'm going to click and drag from the film strip icon down onto my timeline here, right around here. And we're going to repeat that same process as earlier, clicking on our photo, double clicking on the photo in our program monitor, and then clicking and dragging from the corners to make our photo bigger. Then I'm going to just click and drag to reposition the photo a little bit until we think it looks good to us. And I think maybe something like that will have to be good enough for now. And you'll see that we have a little bit of a gap here. Let's go ahead and play this and see how that looks. So I'm going to just click on my timeline here and let's play this back.
World for the Super Nintendo. The reason I picked this one is for all the different Yoshis that were in that game that all had different power-ups and different capabilities. My favorite was the blue Yoshi that allowed you to fly.
And I think that's looking okay right now, where we see the photo and then we see me talking and then we see the next photo. But if we wanted to, we could change the length of these photos. To do that, we're just going to move our mouse to the end of the photo and drag it to the right to make it longer, or drag it to the left to make it shorter. In this case, I'm going to drag it to the right to make it longer so it touches the next photo. I'm going to go ahead and press play.
That all had different power-ups and different capabilities. My favorite was the blue Yoshi that allowed you to fly. Even though this one's last on my list, it's still really great because of all the unique different boss fights.
And I think that's looking pretty good, but I do always encourage you to try to touch every photo at least a little bit. So maybe making it a little bit longer or making it a little bit shorter, just making sure that you are being intentional about that decision rather than relying on what the computer gives you. Let's watch that whack one last time.
and different capabilities. My favorite was the Blue Yoshi that allowed you to fly. Even though this one's last on my list, it's still really great because of all the unique different boss fights, and
I think that's looking pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the next section and add a few photos there. To make this a little bit easier, I'm going to zoom out using the minus key on my keyboard. Next, let's find out what my next talking point was, because it's been a minute since we've recorded this video. Let's find out together.
Number 4 on my list, I picked Mario Odyssey.
So it looks like in this case I had picked Mario Odyssey, but before I go any farther, let's save early, save often. I'll go to File at the top and go down to Save, just to make sure I'm not going to lose my work. And then we're going to go ahead and look for our photos that apply for this section. Let's see what that one is. That one. And I think this is the photo I'll plan on using first. And we can use the same exact format that we just used. It will still work. It's a pretty consistent way of doing this. I'm going to click and drag on this film strip icon, drop it right underneath my graphic here, and we'll press play.
For the Nintendo Switch. This one is really great for all the different movement abilities that Mario has that really allow you to push the skill.
And I start talking about my next photo pretty soon here. So I'd like to add that right at the end of this photo here, but let's go by my own words here. And let's say we should be touching each photo at least a little bit. I'm going to zoom in by pressing plus, by clicking on my timeline and then pressing plus. And then let's shorten this down just a tiny bit, just so we're the ones being in charge of that decision rather than relying on the computer. Next, I'm going to go ahead and grab my second photo, double clicking on the photo here, clicking and dragging from the film strip icon. And I would like mine to start right after that first one. Let's go ahead and click on the photo. It looks like we're going to have to make this a little bit bigger. So I'm going to double click on the graphic, click and drag from the corners to make it bigger, and something like that will work. Let's go back and play it.
Mario Odyssey for the Nintendo Switch. This one is really great for all the different movement abilities that Mario has that really allow you to push the skill expression in this game. Even though this one is number 4 on my list,
And again, being intentional with how long each of our photos are, I'm going to make this one a little bit longer. So I'm making that decision rather than relying on what the computer is giving me by default. But I think that should be doing pretty good. As always, rather than showing you every step of this process, I'm going to do a quick editing montage here, fast forward through this, and I'll see you on the other side of this edit. All right, and we have reached the end of our edit. Thank you so much for following along, and as always, let's save early, save often. We'll go to File at the top, go to Save, and then we're going to need to take our screenshot again. Let's put our mouse on top of our timeline here and press our tilde button to go into full screen. And in this case, I can't see my whole timeline, so I'm going to need to zoom out. We can either use the minus key on our keyboard or click and drag on the bar at the bottom in order to zoom out. I need to be able to see your whole timeline here, everything you've done in editing, in order to be able to give you credit for the work you've done. Once we've zoomed out, let's go ahead and take our screenshot with Windows F10. So I'll go ahead and do that now. And then we're going to go ahead and press the tilde key on our keyboard again to exit full screen. We'll go ahead and exit out of Adobe Premiere Pro, turn in that screenshot on Google Classroom in order to receive credit for the work you've done, and I will see you all back in class. Bye now.